Welcome back to Once Upon a Tiny Farm. My name's Drew, and today I want to talk about 5 crops that I'm overwintering this winter, all of which for the first time, except for garlic, which I'll talk about first. So I've got these 2 raised beds here. In this bed, I planted garlic, and the garlic is, I don't really want to get my hands in there, it's really wet right now, but they're a couple inches deep in the soil. I think I did a video on planting garlic last year, but something I did a little different this year was I planted my garlic that first week of November, and it was actually after we've had a first frost. Last year I planted it the 3rd week of October, and I think that was a little bit too early last year. If you can remember, last year it was a little bit warmer, and some of my garlic had all sprouted green growth in November last year, and I realized that was not something that I wanted to happen. I think it did affect the overall end size of some of the bulbs. Might have shocked them a little bit, getting that upward growth hit by the cold. Because what is supposed to happen with the garlic is they're supposed to start setting roots down right now throughout the winter, and then when the spring comes, you start seeing that green growth come out of the soil. So this year I planted garlic here in this bed, and I covered that with straw, and I planted it the first week of November, and I don't see any growth yet. It's been pretty cold. Today's a little bit more mild, but yeah, this was the first bed that I planted over winter. That's garlic. So this bed here, as you could see, these are onions, and I never tried overwintering onions. What ended up happening last year was a lot of onions that I planted. I kind of neglected the rows of onions, and onions need to be weeded quite frequently because they don't compete well with weeds. And I didn't do that with my rows of onions. So I ended up getting a lot of small sized onions. They almost look like onion sets that you might buy at the store to plant. So I thought, maybe I could try planting some of these little bulbs that were completely covered by weeds, and maybe they'll start growing again. They'll grow a little bit of roots now, but they'll start growing bigger bulbs maybe in the spring, and that'll give me a head start on some of these onions. I have a feeling from some research that I've done on overwintering onions that they need to be a certain size, not too big, because the bigger the bulb, the more chance that they might bolt instead of actually grow into a bigger bulb that you want. But not too small, that like these are green scallion onions. These are, I think, too small. I tried planting these because I had a whole tray of them that I kind of forgot about and never planted. So I planted these in this bed as soon as I got it ready, and they're still kind of baby sized. I would like them to be a little bit more like the width of a pencil. So these are still kind of baby. So maybe these will do okay. Maybe the cold will kill them, but they're pretty cold tolerant, from what I understand. So we will see. This is an experiment. I've got some young baby onions. I've got some larger bulbed onions that didn't really get that big, and I just put some leaves on top here. I don't know if that was even necessary, but it's just something that I thought might help. But anyway, this bed, I'm trying overwintering onions, a mixture of red, yellow, and green scallions, and I'll let you know in the spring how this turns out. Now, the 4th crop that I am overwintering this winter is kale. I've never done this before, but I know that the kale will survive the cold temperatures. They're extremely cold hardy, and in fact, they actually do better when the weather gets cooler and colder. So what I'm going to be doing is just letting these go in the ground. I need to go through and prune off some of the lower branches. These kind of, see, some of these were sown at different times. So like these were like a second sowing midsummer, and these all look a lot better than the ones like this
You see how many times I pulled from the bottom all the way up to the top, and this just is done. These other ones look great. They look fantastic. So I'm going to pull all the lower leaves to allow this to keep growing like a tree. And I will have kale early in the spring. And I'll be doing some more sowings of kale midsummer for the fall. I think that I get my best kale that way, but I'm going to see how this does. At least a little, I'm going to leave this little bit of kale here in and see how it does over winter and into the spring. Another cool thing about kale is it's a biennial, meaning that if you want to save the seed from kale, you need to leave it in the ground from one season to the next, and it'll produce the seed pods in that second year. So if I wanted to save seeds from kale, from this kale, I would be able to get it this coming summer. I will be able to save seeds from kale. I might want to do that for one or two of these because I've never tried doing that before, and that would be a really cool thing to try and do.
And the last thing that I planted this winter, this was also the first week of November, is strawberries. I took some cuttings from another bed that we had, and I removed all the cuttings. I hadn't done that in years since we first planted it, and I planted this row. It might be about 40 feet of strawberries, and my hopes were that it would start rooting and then take off in the spring. But we'll see how this goes.
The fifth and final crop that I am overwintering this year for the first time is carrots. I have about 50 feet of carrots in this row. I have it just covered under this row cover. It's keeping all the plants a little bit more toasty on the cold nights and evenings. The carrots don't really grow much over the winter. They just kind of lay dormant there in the soil, but as the temps start warming up in February and March, they start growing again. So the theory here is I planted these late in August, too late for a harvest this fall, and I'm hoping to have an early harvest this spring with these carrots. And these carrots are a rainbow mix. It's something that I don't think I'm going to grow much more of in the future, because this mix, they all kind of they have different dates to maturity. So like sometimes the orange ones will be ready, but like the purple or yellow and white ones aren't ready. And for market gardening purposes, you want them all to be ready at the same time. So it's just kind of annoying with these. They took a long time. So I'm going to be sticking to different varieties for at least for my market gardening, so I can depend on them being ready at a certain time when I need them. But I might keep growing these for us in our home garden. The rainbow carrots are really fun. And these are ones where you could also save the seed from them. These aren't hybrid varieties. These are all heirloom carrots. So something I might want to keep a few of these in the ground too, because these are also biennial. These will put up a flower head this coming year over summer if I wanted to save seeds from these carrots. So another cool thing I'm doing. Also, I forgot to broad fork this bread. So a lot of these, oh bless you, Matthew. A lot of these carrots didn't get very big. So I'm not even sure how big they will get. They might be like a blunt kind of carrot where they're not very long, but just like short, stubby, and fat. Might be good for like stews and stuff like that, but might not be as marketable, pretty carrot like I hoped, because I forgot the broad fork. So important for growing carrots. But anyway, I had such good germination here. I didn't want to just let this row go to nothing. So I covered it with the row cover, and I'm gonna see if they could get any bigger over winter and into the spring. So I'll give another update on how this does later in the year. All right, and that's gonna wrap up this video on 5 crops that I'm overwintering this year. If you found this video helpful in any way, give it a thumbs up. Really appreciate it. And subscribe to our channel if you're new here. I'd appreciate that as well. Anything, last words you'd like to say, Matthew? You wanna get off my back? Yeah, got it. All right, that's gonna wrap up this video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.